Most people don't know that before Abraham Lincoln became the president who saved the Union, he was actually one of the most outspoken critics of the Mexican-American War. In 1847, Lincoln arrived in Washington, D.C. as a freshman congressman representing Illinois. At the time, the Mexican-American War was already underway, and most Americans supported it. Lincoln, however, did not. President James K. Polk claimed that Mexico shed American blood on American soil, which justified the war, but Lincoln challenged that claim. He believed that President Polk had misled the country into war, which was not a popular opinion to have at the time. As a result, his nickname became Spotty Lincoln because he was so obsessed with finding out whether or not Americans were actually attacked on American soil. Despite this, Lincoln stood by his position, but America ultimately won the war, and by the time Lincoln was running for president more than a decade later, this whole part of his political career was kind of forgotten about. At the time, only a few other congressmen were against the war, and one of them was former President John Quincy Adams, son of founding father and second President John Adams. John Quincy Adams also served as president, but after he left the presidency sort of in disgrace, he served in Congress for pretty much the rest of his life. He was one of the chamber's and the country's most respected figures, but in February of 1848, while in the chamber, he suddenly collapsed. It turned out that he had a stroke, and other House members rushed to help him, and one of the people present on the floor was Abraham Lincoln. Adams was carried out of the chamber, but he was physically unable to leave the Capitol, and he ultimately died there a couple days later. Ultimately, John Quincy Adams' death symbolized the end of the revolutionary generation in American politics, and he was in a way passing the torch off to the next generation, and Abraham Lincoln happened to be the one to take it. As you know, Lincoln ran for Senate in the 1850s but lost, but he then became one of the most consequential presidents in American history.